Hey Jim, how are you?
Pretty good. And yourself, Gail?
I am good. What an exciting couple of days at the at the town hall.
Oh, yes, with those polls. I stopped
Yeah.
in on I maybe it was 2 days ago, and just to see what was going on, and Graham was there with his camera and bike and taking pictures, and of course he'd been there all morning, so he really had the lowdown on everything.
Yeah, I'm still unclear about how he knew it was happening because I got absolutely zero notification of anything.
Well, I think it
So
was just by virtue of driving through Shutesbury, because
oh,
the trucks were, I mean, I've never seen so many boom trucks in Shutesbury at one time. And they were clustered around the town hall and also across from the fire station. Because according to Graham, any poles that had conduits attached to them and risers with them as well, the folks who were doing all the work had to take special precautions so that the new poles were placed right next, right exactly in the same place that the old one was, which is not an easy thing to do. And I don't know who's paying for all this. I'm sure there's federal and state money involved. Graham and I were discussing it because
it's heinously expensive what they're doing.
Heinously, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just beyond. I mean, I still can't get over the fact that someone from the Davy Tree Service is doing all the work, cutting all the stuff down up and down Wendell Road and elsewhere. Actually came to my house to inform me that they were going to do this. I mean, what? That's never happened before. Usually they just cut in and then hope that there are no complaints or something. But it's really been quite a demonstration, quite a show. I kind of wish they'd apply some of their tree removing expertise to North Leverett Road in Leverett, because there are a lot of trees that are in serious need of removal there, but that doesn't seem to be attracting the same amount of attention.
No, it's interesting how they, we have no insight into how they decide which roads are getting these upgrades and which poles.
Well, that's Eversource, of course, a different regime altogether.
Yeah, yeah.
I still, every time I drive by that tree that's just about, I just hope that I mean I've written Margie McGinnis any number of times, and the tree warden in Leverett and all the rest of it, and I think he's tied a ribbon around the tree, but that doesn't exactly make it any safer.
Not so much, just a ribbon.
Just a ribbon, yeah. So I hope you've been admiring the amazing display of mountain laurel here in town, in Shutesbury and elsewhere.
Yeah, I was in the Berkshires last weekend, but it wasn't quite there yet. It hadn't bloomed yet.
Yeah,
So I haven't seen a whole lot. I'm in Boston right now.
Mhm.
So yeah, not a lot of mountain laurel here, unfortunately.
It's the best. It alternates every other year, more or less, and this year is the best it's ever been. And my land, I've got more laurel per acre, I think, than probably anybody else in Shutesbury. It's just wall to wall laurel wherever you look, hundreds, thousands and thousands of bushes of it, all in full bloom, looking just
That's amazing.
wonderful.
Yeah, that must be beautiful.
It is. It's
Yeah.
Where does that mean you are, Gail?
I'm in Boston.
Okay.
I'm in Boston right now. Yeah. Yeah. I leave for San Francisco tomorrow.
Well, it is pretty here right now. In fact, oh, there you go. Can you see our mountain laurel there?
No.
There it is. Yep.
There
Beautiful.
it is. Spectacular. You probably caught a bit of it before you went away on vacation, right?
I didn't.
are.
I haven't really been in the area a whole lot. I was in the Berkshires a little bit, but it hadn't bloomed yet out there. It was like just
you're away from
starting.
the lake. Yeah.
I was on the Appalachian Trail for a little, not sleeping or anything, just on a day hike, and there was a lot of but it was just budding. It wasn't quite out yet. So I haven't had a lot of sights of it yet.
Which part of the Appalachian Trail were you on?
You know how when you drive over the Mass Pike,
Yeah, you see a sign.
and there's the Appalachian Trail little overpass right there.
Not well.
Yeah.
You pulled over and got on it, eh?
Well, I was out there for the weekend, staying with a friend, and so there's 3 of us that did the section up to the hut. There's a hut about 2 miles in.
Okay.
And a beautiful lake you can swim in. It's one of the nicest AMC huts I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
Just
wow.
Super.
That's remarkable. Usually not near highways for a start.
No. So I mean, so close. It's they all during the season they have a caretaker there who makes people breakfast and
keep it safe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Helen Ann walked the whole Appalachian Trail, and I did about 30.
Oh wow!
I did about 30% of it, and that's where we became good friends. So
very good friends, apparently.
Very good friends. If you can live with someone for 7 weeks in a tent.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You might as well just get married at that point.
You've got a good chance of surviving in a house. So
yes.
Yeah. Anyhow. Ah. Steve said he might not be here. He might have told you that too.
Yeah, he did tell me that. So I guess we can probably get started. I don't know if Craig is in far-flung places too. So we do have quorum, so I'll get us started here. So I'll do my little spiel here. Welcome to the June 21st meeting of the MLP Board and Broadband Committee. I am Gail Huntress, MLP Manager, and I'll be facilitating the meeting. This meeting is fully remote. Participating remotely, we have Jim Hemingway and Graham Sefton, MLP board members. Missing tonight are Stephen Schmidt, also MLP board member, and Broadband Committee member at large, Craig Martin, again, who are not with us. So let's get started. First item is approving the minutes from May 17th. Jim sent around some amendments. Thank you.
It's actually May 25th.
May 25th. Thank you. I had the date wrong on that.
Still so moved. Moved again. You want to second it, Jim?
Can you give a second?
Second. Sorry, second.
No worries.
Sorry.
There's no other option here.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when there's only two of you guys here. Okay, so in favor, Graham?
Aye.
And Jim?
Aye.
Excellent.
And then we have the second set, June 6th.
Oh, we have June 6th. We didn't do, oh, right. So we have June 6th meeting. We had a quorum convene at the hut on that day. It was not a business meeting per se. It was just a hut tour led by Sheld and Holyoke Gas and Electric, but we posted the meeting as a public meeting because we had more than quorum. So can I have
moved.
a motion? Thank you. Jim, you're up again with a second.
Second, sorry.
No worries. And approve the June 6th meeting, Graham
Aye.
and Jim.
Aye.
Excellent. Okay. All right, well, let's why don't we get right into talking about the excitement at the town hall? And because we need to talk about the hut report anyway. And Graham, thank you for just keeping an eye on that and catching it. I got absolutely zero notification from any of the utility companies that anything was happening. I'm not surprised in the way that it didn't, besides the electricity cut, it didn't, they didn't do anything to our stuff. They just kind of nudged it and expect us to move it over to a later date. Here we are, 3 days later, still haven't gotten any notification. I'm not surprised about that. As you know, there's many discontinued poles in town where they've been sitting there for years. I have yet actually to get any sort of pole move request ever from any utility.
Yeah, not surprising.
So, yeah,
not great communicators.
No.
Though Jim did remark, didn't you, Jim, that they notified, they did notify customers along the road, right, Jim?
About tree clearing.
Only tree clearing.
Yeah, nothing to do.
Okay.
Well, but National Grid did send a letter around to people on Locks Pond Road and elsewhere, I guess, that they were going to be replacing the high voltage line, and hence the necessary tree clearing had to be done in cooperation, so to speak, with that. So they actually did notify us that there would be some change, or I don't know, I can't remember what it was, but they thought they were going to replace the high voltage line, I guess, down through Wendell and elsewhere.
So it's
At least
possible they sent a letter. It is then
Yeah,
possible
they
they
did
sent a
send a
letter
letter,
to
yeah.
every customer, which we would not show up as.
Right.
Maybe the town administrator might have a letter somewhere there in the pile. So, or whoever pays the bill.
Yeah. So yeah, it would be the town admin. But again, it's not about our lines specifically. It's just about power outage. Of like, hey, we're doing work. You're going to expect this power outage.
Yes,
so.
And it was a general thing, right? They didn't give you a date, did they, or time, Jim? So yeah, it was just a generic.
Yeah, it was just generic.
Yeah.
This is an upcoming event, so to speak.
Yeah, well, as Gal, you probably saw the email that Steve said that they lost their internet for at least a few minutes, that Janet noticed, and then just by chance I heard from two other people that they lost their broadband, and so because we were coming up to the meeting today, I figured, okay, I phoned, I was going to phone Bobby to ask him if he could see that, but Bobby's on vacation now. So I phoned Lee Masters this morning and asked him, so did he see a lot of people dropping out on broadband on Monday morning at 8:49, right around there, when they cut the power over? And he said yes, some of the OLTs or all of the OLTs reset, and you might have then, maybe you heard from them that they went, they discovered that there was so they went up to check the power, the UPS, and they found another LTEC unit had gone missing in action. So
Right, rectifier number.
rectifier number 1
yeah,
or 2.
one went
So,
and 2 we replaced last year.
yes. So now we've replaced them both. And he said that he also talked to Jim Crowley, and Jim Crowley said they would check out the batteries in the system just to see if they've got to their shelf life for
Yeah.
the UPS. But it's seeing it as an event that coincides with the generator starting, and starting in a hurry and hitting
Yeah,
it with
yeah.
that like 7-second gasp. It without looking, you almost have to be watching with a sensitive meter to see what the heck is going on. I did look at the power quality thing on the power meter thing, that now monitors the power, but it doesn't have that sort of sensitivity to see a gap of, you can't zoom in on the minutes. It did say I could download all the data, so I might still do that as a spreadsheet. But then I looked at the 4 p.m. thing where the power comes back on, because it reported that the power sagged down to 89 volts, which seems like a real event. And presumably that sag happened. We could look at the generator saying stuff's going on with the power, and therefore it deserves closer looking at. So there you go. So don't know the details.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they got the rectifier fixed on that one, and but I am, we should never have a service loss. Even for 10 minutes. Everything fixed, it fixed itself. Those OLTs came back online. Everything was okay after 10 minutes. And we successfully ran on generator power till about 4:30. I saw the notification. Of course, all this is happening today when I'm, preparing for this meeting, and I've been away, so I didn't see it in real time.
Sorry, you had so much to read today, probably.
It's okay. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm away for a couple of days and all
what
this stuff
happens. Yeah. So
it all happens all at once. But I'm just thankful that you just saw it happening and stopped by, and so that we have some documentation of what went on, and that all is well. And
so I'm glad that I was there when they were sledgehammering the stump, because I'm sure they might have, when you've got a sledgehammer, it's hard not to hit something. They knew what not to hit.
Yes.
They
Do not hit that.
they smashed a few things, but they never smashed our fiber conduit, so riser. So that was kind of good. But so I asked the supervisor, and Jim heard this. I asked the supervisor, do they always pull the pole out and replace it in a situation where there's a lot of risers on the pole? And he said no. He said it's a lot harder to do, as we saw a whole day, half a day to pull it out. But he said that the upper levels had told them that they had to do this with any risers on this job, so not just the town hall. But
right.
And so I looked at a couple of other places, and sure enough, poles that had risers on them, they had done the same process. A lot easier if you only have one riser. The only exception that I noticed was the burned out house that we all get to see. It has a riser on its pole, but they just did a pole side by side because they decided no one was gonna. This was probably not a live service. So
Okay.
Anyhow.
Graham, when was the Altec power supply failure? When did that take place?
They found it on Tuesday, I think, when I think Lee Masters said he went up to look at what was going on, and he found one of the backup that half of the rectifier system wasn't working or something. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure there'll be a report in what they repair. But here's the thing: he did mention, I didn't realize, and maybe you knew, Gail, but he said that when they fixed the broken LTAC before, they also found that it had only ever been running on one. It was only set up to run on one. So, yeah, before they were in charge of it. So, so that was, it hadn't been initially quite set up right. Or maybe when one of the units went bad, Crocker had moved it to the other unit as, as the fix. I don't know, but he noted that.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember that saying that it was only ever
It's a
running
while
on
ago.
one, but yeah, so we have two relatively new ones now.
Yeah.
So, all right, Graham, did moving on to, well, anything else we need to talk about the town hall? I think we need to get held up there to do the move, but I'm thinking we should wait until the rest of the work is done on the other poles so they can just go boom, boom, boom down the line, right? Of
Yeah,
all
and
the
that's
pole
probably
replacements?
probably not many days to go on that, I don't think, because
Okay.
they are going boom, 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 and
Yeah,
and we'll probably know because there'll be no more poles lying on the ground.
right.
So that's kind of like, some cultures had message sticks as a way of communicating. That seems to be the way National Grid communicates about poles. Message sticks.
Message sticks, yes.
25
Large
foot long.
message sticks.
You can't miss these message sticks, as Steve noted the first one. So, so yeah, I reckon as soon as we see no poles lying on the ground, let's as the email you saw, Lee Masters is ready to to get on that, and he says that top down, you probably saw his email.
I did, yeah.
As opposed to emergency repairs, where they won't let the communications people in until the stakeholder, the owners of the poles have their way. But he says for shifts, for reattachments, top down, so we get next shot at it. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
we don't want to depend on Verizon not turning up randomly and screwing it up.
Yeah. So so what I'm thinking is we'll wait maybe a week or two, and then I'm gonna have either Ray or Lee or someone higher up on the field tech side come and scope it out, right? Of
Sure.
like, here's all the poles that have to be moved, any of the jobs need maybe 2 trucks. So do a visit, scope, and then send out trucks. There's no rush on this. But I'll say, wait another 2 weeks or so, send someone to scope it, and then you can schedule the work at when it's convenient, and so that you have the all the guys you need and all the equipment. Sound like a plan? Yeah,
that sounds good. And
great.
And yeah, if you just tell Lee that, or Bobby, and copy Lee.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, and the other thing that back to the hut status, we all decided that it was a good idea to get a supervised internet in there, and Wi-Fi router. I mean, and I have a spare Gigaspire router that turns out to be not very easy to use as a kind of just a tester anywhere. So I'll put that in the hut, and the next time for whatever reason, they have to come, HGE, well, I guess Shell has to come to the hut. They could just they could just swap out the Linksys for a Gigaspire, and then they would have the supervised thing that would tell them what's going on at the Wi-Fi at the hut, which would be useful.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna bookmark that and put it as part of the entire plan that we're hoping to get from Holyoke Gas and Electric over the next couple of months for all of the monitoring. You know, kind of add that to the update list of things that should be done in the hut to make it better.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Well, I'll
they're
put it in the hut.
yeah,
I'll put it in
gonna
the
put
hut so
up
that they can
hut
do whatever they
monitoring.
want. Yeah.
Okay.
Ah.
Did Graham, did Jamrock do their thing, replacing the outdoor fan and the PCB yet?
You would have seen the email on Friday that it'll be Monday or Tuesday, and I said yes to both, and I got no phone call. So
Okay.
so yeah, feel free to. Well, you know, Jamie communicated to me last. I'll email her tomorrow and ask her whether they said they had an emergency last Friday, so that was that, and that's fine because I wasn't even around. So it was good that, I mean, I hadn't got their Thursday message because I was away and doing stuff with grandchildren. So anyway,
Good.
So they
24 hours notice was not enough for me, in other words.
Yeah.
So they haven't fixed it yet.
No.
They have not fixed it. I did submit the other invoices to Becky for inclusion for an insurance claim. Because the fire station's unit got fried as well.
Mhm.
And it's weird because our in-plant insurance is covered by the town, not our policy with Hanover. So we're over the deductible, so I'm hoping to get reimbursed for that. So whatever next invoice they send for the final, we're hoping the final fix for the fan and the PCB board outside. We'll get that reimbursed by the town. I'll have to keep following up on that.
Yeah. And the town's policy has probably got 1,000 deductible, so it'll help that there's 2 heat pumps to repair in a way.
Right. We're well over at this point.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, great. All right, anything else from Hut report?
No.
Okay, wonderful. Ooh, I have a broadband puzzle for you two. So I heard from a customer who lives on Cooleyville Road. And apparently, several months ago, he started printing to another customer's printer. Okay. All right. But here's where it gets interesting. This other customer is someone he doesn't know. And it's on Pelham Hill Road.
Wow.
So nowhere within an SSID radius.
No.
But he can print to her combination print scanner thing. And so somehow he accidentally printed to her printer. He's on Cooleyville, she's on Pelham Hill, printed to her printer. He must have been printing a document that had his name on it. She contacted him and said, "Hey, you're printing to my printer."
No.
Now here's what I don't understand. I know this can happen on the same network, right? If you have an unsecured network, you have multiple devices on there, you see it, you see your neighbor's printer there. You have little to no security there. But I don't get this. How can this happen if it's an entirely different router, different SSID network?
Well, we're all in this IP little shell.
Uh-huh.
Hard to understand how I mean, if you send something to a fixed IP address, or if you have an IP address and you send something to it, you can. I mean, he could, if he knew the IP address of the printer, he could ping it from his house. You know, that's one of the little tools on our things. I suppose, yeah. Somehow or
Are
other, he
are you
accident-
stumped too, though? Are you stumped
Yeah,
too? It's
yeah,
like
he
how this can
accidentally-
happen?
He's
Wha-
accidentally
wait,
got the IP address. That's kind of,
Mhm.
yeah, that's
But-
weird and amazing.
But Graham, if that was the case, the printer has an IP address, but it's on the other side of the
Well,
of the firewall, and there's no way that that could be accessed. The only way that it could be is if that printer is somehow they've set it up for remote printing over the internet. And I don't know how they would have done that, but it could be done because you can access your computer and your printer, from California, even if you
Right.
Yeah, totally true.
So
Yeah.
that could be done. But how two strangers could set this up? I think they better look into it because if this is the case, they have a serious security issue that they got to deal with.
Or that's the very first good question one asks the person who has the printer is,
Mhm.
does anyone ever do remote printing from them except by accident
Right.
from across town?
Yeah. But that's the only way it can happen. I mean, as far as I can.
I did, right, okay, so, well, okay, and well, thank you, because I was just like, I've been baffled for the last 12 hours trying to figure out, like, how can you do this, and that makes sense, if you set up your device for remote printing, then there's a way that other people can access this over the internet, and if there's no password protecting, and if other people can find somehow
It'd be
your
very dangerous.
device, they can get to it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
geez.
hitting it by accident is the astounding part, but
Right. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is have our friend on on Cooleyville send a document that says your printer is compromised, please contact, etc. and print it there. He doesn't remember who it is.
Oh, he doesn't know who. Okay,
He
yeah.
doesn't know who it is, but
Maybe
yeah.
he shouldn't send an alarming message. Just
Right. Hey, we need to check your security. Can you contact?
we want to fix this problem. Please communicate to you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah.
Thank you.
Just,
I won't make it.
yeah.
It's because, I mean, if it's been going on forever, it's not an emergency, but just
Yeah, right. Yeah,
get
and we
this
don't want to
person-
alarm them.
Yeah, get this
so-
person on Cooleyville to reach out to me so that I can ask these questions and then get them to the appropriate people at Shell.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And when you're getting the information off them, get them to tell you what their printer is, and if you get a model number, then we can look up what its capabilities are, and it's possible that it's just that it's accidentally set itself up as a anyone can print to me sort of thing. So, but not a crisis unless someone starts to print a novel. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, if it's good, if it was a good novel, at least.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Might be.
yeah.
Give you a
Maybe.
bonus. You're like, oh, look at this.
Maybe. Yeah. So.
Remote printing.
That is
okay.
that is a very fun problem, though.
Isn't that a fun one? I thought.
Good.
I knew you guys would have a clue as to what the heck was going on there.
Yeah.
I think I'm not going to put this in the minutes.
Yeah.
You don't need a lot of details now.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna include it.
Yeah.
Very good. Good call.
Okay. Great. All right. So one thing we need to talk about tonight, moving on, is our policy around tree work on private drives, caused by a recent service visit that Graham and both of you were involved in this one, where the customer was specifically asking, can you please, clear the trees away from our lines? They thought that it was creating a degradation of service. We all know that's not really possible. That, tree interference or other physical object isn't going to affect a fiber line. But I think I've been thinking about this, and I think that we have to leave our policy as is, where we can't really do preventative maintenance here. We just can't, even if it's like a leaner, right? Because who makes the call about,
Yeah.
you know, when we deploy? Is it you know, sometimes an arborist may need to be involved, and we can't pay for this on, you know,
Yeah.
private property, never mind, you know, handling liability. And again, who makes the call? If we do it for one person, all of a sudden this opens us up of, we have to do preventative maintenance all over the place. As it stands, Sheld cuts the small stuff if it's less than like a wrist in diameter, and they go out for a installation or repair. You know, they have little saws, they'll just lop stuff off, they'll take care of it. But again, we don't do preventative maintenance. That is up to the homeowner. So,
That's a
What
good call,
I-
I think. I like
Yeah,
that. We
yeah,
legal
okay.
policy. You know, emergencies will always be
Yeah.
emergencies, but you know, bucket truck techs don't usually have chainsaws anyhow, and you know, and they wouldn't want to. So
Yeah, and Steve wrote me a little email, wanted to throw his voice into the ring, that, as he said, as a town operated entity, I believe any policy must apply equally to all subscribers. True, there's no way that we can set some kind of maintenance policy that we can effectively use for all subscribers. And yeah, and we can't show favoritism and to some and do it to others. It's just gonna, you know, we either have to do all maintenance or none, and we have to do none.
I agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I know that this has been our kind of unofficial policy, but what I'm gonna do is make a note to put this into our manual about just how do we deal with you know, tree maintenance in this respect. We have big tree maintenance of going around our main lines, but for drops.
and just to emphasize what you did in your message in the town, in the town article, that that you know, that customers really should, you know, before storm season, which is any time, they should monitor their own thing, especially if they're worried about their own reliability and have reason to you know, to be concerned for losing communications and stuff.
Yeah, okay, great. Let's see. I haven't yet got an equipment list for from Sheld about what our capital improvement plans are for the hut. Let's see. Speaking of that 60, maybe I probably shouldn't say the address on a public meeting here, but that the service visit that both of you did, that I think that was a prime example of something that could be solved by a managed router. Am I right about that?
Totally. Yeah, and including
Yeah.
including a customer who pressed the reset on their just the other day, and had no idea how to Linksys reset button, and they had no idea, and they couldn't be talked through it by Netegrity. So so that was a truck roll I heard from Lee Masters. So
Yeah.
But Gail, I love doing those calls. I mean, I think it was perfect that he called us and said, this is a problem that's a little bit outside of our scope. And would you be willing to take a look at it, essentially, is what I understand. And I don't mind doing those. I've done them for many years, and it's good to meet customers and sort of, and often I can spend a lot of time, which Shell could never do, or a repair person could never do. So it's just something that I'm willing to do, and I think Graham, you are to some extent as well.
To some extent, but it's even better customer service for them to be able to have the option of just getting it fixed remotely by Netegrity, you know, because people have to find us, or Sheld has to find us, and then Sheld's in the weird situation of kind of like asking us for a favor, like at the point where I had 2 on my plate for one day, and I called you, and you very kindly picked up one of them. It was like, you know, it's it's once again, it puts an unevenness to it, especially if, if either of us are if both of us are unavailable for a few days, it's like, I don't know.
Well,
Back to the thing.
If
Back to the
Yeah.
thing, quality of
if it
service.
works, it works. But I can tell you from my experience that when I do these, and I spend a fair amount of time during those calls, this is something that a managed router would not be able to solve, because people have the oddest questions about I take a look at their computer setup and all sorts of things, and I don't mind, giving them advice about that. But it's usually more complicated. You'd be surprised how little people know about what's going on. And so
I'm
if
no
you
longer
take the-
surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you take the time to explain things, as I did on the one that I did just recently, they're very grateful, and that's something they're not going to get from a managed router situation. I just want to sort of point that out.
But Jim, they never would have told either one of us if they thought it was the problem that you found, which was an old laptop. I mean, they would not have. It's totally beyond customer equipment sort of. They wouldn't want to complicate anyone's lives by taking any responsibility, including sending us. They sent us to that job, or they informed us because there was a concern that a tree was rubbing on lines going into the building, and that was the only reason why we heard about it. It's the sort of help that you and I can give, and you especially with Mac laptop problems. It's beyond what Sheld is contracted to do, and therefore they're not going to want to touch it. They're not going to want to be a referral center. So we can tell people that we're available. And in fact, I realized the way to do that is through village neighbors, to say, I'm available for IT consult sort of stuff, because then that'll be the customer equipment side of it. Totally, and anytime anyone says they've got a network problem, a broadband problem, then as I always do, I'd say, well, tell Sheld first. So village neighbors is to the extent that you and I both enjoy that occasionally and doing it at our own discretion, then volunteering through village neighbors is the best way.
Yeah, and I love that you guys are willing to do these personal touches. I mean, I would have a ball doing this too if I didn't have another full-time job. It would be it would be fun to do like small town IT. And so I think we should do what we can in the meantime. I always worry about long term. We're not going to be around forever. None of us are, and we don't want to leave our customers high and dry. One of the things I'm going to talk about a little bit later is maybe using some of our federal funds for this purpose. Apply or figuring out what the needs are. But anyway, I'll table that for a second and talk about it a little bit later in the agenda, because we know that there's people in town who need this kind of help, and it relates to digital equity. So yeah.
We're just a small municipal outfit, and we can do this. At least
we can right now, Jim.
We can right now, but it's not something that we are committed to supplying, so to speak, because the picture could change. It just happens that at this moment in time, we're able to do it, and that's good for the town and good for the people who live in the town. But it's just something that we happen to be able to provide momentarily, so to speak.
Yeah.
Jim, imagine how it'll be for the next group who takes over from us at some point or other, as will happen. And that will be if they're given the terrible job of having to do what we, if they don't deliver exactly people will say, oh, it's not as good as it was when Gail was in charge and, Jim and Graham,
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
That's inevitable.
But no, but you don't want to make the next people's jobs, this terrible thing of, the good old days have gone, so.
Yeah,
Well,
so no changes now. I love the support, the personal touch that, you guys and we all offer. We'll keep doing it as long as we can and start thinking some, about some more long-term plans. Yeah, and again, a little bit later, I'll talk about what I learned at that Digital Equity Summit and how we might be able to help our residents a bit more. All right. I don't have a financial report this month. I'm just because I'm on vacation and also we're at the end of the fiscal years, I'm just kind of sitting on it until I can do one final big wrap up. So at our meeting in July, I'll have a full report. For now, we're in great financial shape. We again are going to be, at least $100,000 in the black. So we're doing very well, again.
Excellent.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I have a note every time around this year to revisit our $250 reconnection fee that we have.
Mhm.
And if you recall, last year we lowered it by $50. It was $300. We lowered it to $250. Exactly 0 customers have used it this year, have been penalized. So that tells me it's working. Nobody's complained about it, especially now that the fee that they pay for suspended service is, what, 30 something like that dollars a month. So it's very, very reasonable, even if you're not here for 6 months out of the year, for you to pay your share of the MLP fees.
Very good.
So if it's all right with you guys, I say we don't even reopen the conversation. It's working. Nobody's been charged that, and we just keep it there. Sound good?
Yeah,
Very
good.
Let's see. Oh, as a curiosity, as I was investigating that, I just went through and looked for accounts for suspended service. I was just curious of how many people are actually not having service. It's remarkably low. January, February, March, April, where you would expect to see the most. The most we had was 9. It hovers 7, 8, 9 customers. Okay. So basically less than 10 my guess is that even people who have seasonal houses are taking advantage of security systems or remote monitoring or temperature monitoring and keeping that service going. So
you don't want your house to burn down or freeze.
So what you're saying is that only 7 to 9 people let their service lapse for 3 to 4 months and then bring it.
No, we have 0 people who have let their service lapse for more than 3 months.
Okay.
The less than 10 people are using our suspended service option, where you pay the that reduced fee to just to avoid the suspended service fee. These are for, we call them seasonal disconnects.
Yeah. Okay, and they reactivate, but they don't have to pay a.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah, they just turn it on at the end.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So 0. Yeah.
Yep. All right. In other news, I'm still working on that IRU for New Salem to do the interconnect. It's not as simple as just using Leverett's, because I have to rewrite it to reflect what the pathways and all of that. So I'll have all of you take a look at it when it's ready. I'll have I guess probably Holyoke Gas and Electric will be the ones that this will land on, because it's wider network related. When I get that figured out. So, and then of course Wendell, it has to go through New Salem. This is a multi-month process. So I'll just keep working on it.
Yeah.
Let's see. So let me talk a little bit about last Tuesday. So I went to Union Station in Worcester it was the big state Massachusetts Digital Equity Summit. And there was a lot of people there. I would say there was upwards of 150. And there is a lot of interest right now in broadband of all sorts, because there's 42.5 billion with a B dollars in federal money on the line.
Wow.
So the way that these federal BEAD monies work is that each state's responsible for coming up with an assessment for their state. And then based on that, the federal government is going to allocate funds to every state that is kind of applying for that money. The announcement is going to, I think it's going to be by the end of June or July. I didn't quite catch it during the meeting, but it's coming up shortly. Money will go first to unserved communities. So in a sad irony, if we did not have internet yet, the federal government would be picking up a huge portion of this tab because the money is going to go first to any unserved communities, pockets, areas around the country. That's the first line. Interestingly enough, that means that a lot of the money is going to go to MDUs in cities, in urban environments. So big multi-dwelling units. So you have these, apartment complexes. Some of them, I assume, are, half the population of Shutesbury could live in one of them, and they could be completely unserved.
Yep.
Because their building isn't wired. So that's one place that it's going. They're also taking a good look at communication redlining. So this is unfortunate practice by utility companies and especially telecoms of choosing areas of low income and never building to them because of the hassle and the knowing that it's not a place where they're likely to get a lot of service, kind of like what they did in our area, right? Like rural services, just the return on investment isn't enough. We don't want the hassle of lower income folks, not paying their bill or whatever. We're just not going to build there.
Yeah. So
it's great that they're looking at that too, and looking to rectify that. So I had attempted to get a plan going with MBI a couple of months ago. There's a pretty simple application process, and very early on, I learned that Shutesbury wasn't eligible for any of this. One, because we're all built out, but two, because for the other digital equity parts of the plan that are things like deploying devices to people who need them or doing educational pushes for, again, people who need them, we didn't automatically qualify based on the fact that our school districts weren't in any needy areas. So us and Leverett were both in the same boat on this. We could still apply for some of this money with a letter from a town admin saying, here's where we need money. I wrote a draft to Becky for this, asked her to, put it on town letterhead, sent it back to me. That was in February. I just asked her again, could you, please get this to me, because this is our only chance to get this money. What I would like to do, how I would like to use that money is get a professional consultant in to do some kind of townwide survey to figure out where our need is, because I can't it's like a catch-22. Can't apply for the money without knowing what the need is, can't figure out the need without doing this, wide, ask of people. The 4 places I see where we could do it is connecting the unserved homes. So, the 10% of the community that still isn't connected, give them an opportunity to get connected, and maybe even open up our original policy of $200 flat rate, no matter what, we'll get you connected. We need money to do that. 2 is running educational seminars. So, doing things like cybersecurity, or how to get connected to telehealth, or how to lower your entertainment bills if you're still paying for a satellite. All of these could be potential topics for educational seminars. 3rd is deployment of new or upgraded devices. So, Jim, you did that call with an old laptop. Those folks, if they can display need, might be able to get a refurbished piece of technology. I'm not quite sure how they're kind of deploying a technology upgrades to people, but it could take the form of a refurb laptop, a Chromebook, an iPad, something like that. And then finally, the ACP marketing plan. We have the affordable connectivity plan that where people can apply, and it lowers their bills by $30 a month. It's like less than a dozen people in Shutesbury are taking advantage of this, but there's a lot more who are eligible. So despite me pushing this in our, in our newsletters and things, telling people like, hey, if you get SNAP benefits, if your kid is on school lunch, this is here for you. Not many people are applying to that. So one of the things that they talked about in that seminar was that there is a barrier to entry, that the application process is a bit confusing, as with all federal funds, like not really sure how to go about it.
Like doing your taxes.
Yeah. Some, mistrust too. You have to give a lot of personal information to get it. So anyway, that's another way that we could use these funds, is getting it. They call them digital navigators. So they're professionals who help people, like basically sit down with them and help them figure out what they're eligible for and how to get those benefits. But again, we can't do any of this. We can't apply for any of it until we know what the need is I know that we could do the ACP stuff, that there's people who aren't taking advantage, but the other things, we just don't know where people need help. So we need to deploy a survey. We need help analyzing it. I want to hire a consultant on the state's dime to do this. So next step is to get that letter back from Becky, and then put our application in, and so that's where we are.
Did you say there's about 30 ACP recipients on our? No,
I think there's only about a dozen.
A dozen.
Yeah.
So one could send a message home with, the school would give a flyer to kids who had the school lunch program without feeling probably too, discriminatory about it. How much does it say? $30? Is it 30? Is it $30 a month? Is it? There's probably a bunch of people who would they don't know about it because they don't have time to read. They don't have time to read the small print on the things that we might send everybody. So lunch. So the town knows, or the school knows who lunch program people are.
I already, unfortunately, Graham, I already tried.
Oh yeah. Well, what are the qualifications?
They won't release that.
No, they won't give it to you.
So it's either you just have to put something in the school newsletter, send a flyer home with all children. You can't say, please, can you give these, the ones who are in school lunch, give them a little extra. It's and I understand it's all
privacy thing.
Yeah, privacy. So
what's the other qualifier?
So we start, but I know you know, like, I know, I've seen the statistics. I know that there's a lot more people who are eligible or not taking advantage of this. So we could do messaging in just general messaging in the newsletter. We could put it, you know, we could certainly do something on Nextdoor. We could do something with our town newsletter.
One of your emails to all our customers.
Yep.
Gail?
And tell them what the income qualifier is, because there is an income qualifier, right? And is
There
that a
is.
number?
It's not. It's like, it's hard.
It's
to
a
figure
formula.
out.
It's a formula,
Yes,
is it?
yes. It's a formula, like, you know, 300% of federal poverty for a family of X, and
So you'd have to
yeah.
give them a ballpark on what it was. Yeah, that. So,
Yeah, luckily there's lots of pre-qualifying events that you don't have to go through the whole formula. Like, for example, if you're already on SNAP benefits, you're in. If you're already on Medicare, you're in. If you receive school lunch, you're in. So those qualifying events, we could list those.
Send us all an email with a subject line: do you want a $30 a month discount? Read this.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jim, what were you going to say?
Yeah, you said that you want to hire or try to find a professional consultant who could analyze this. Now, the funding for that would come from where? I didn't get that.
MBI would pay for it.
This MBI, not this federal funding, but MBI specifically.
Correct. So MBI already has state funds in hand to pay for things like this. For towns to do evaluations of their needs. And then that's step one, the needs evaluation. And then step two is applying for, well, at this point, it would be whatever Massachusetts portion of the federal funds are.
But we have to get Becky to, things went by kind of quickly, so I missed some of this.
That's okay. Yeah. So the next step is I'm waiting on a letter from Becky so that I can put in my request with MBI to get a consultant.
So Becky will be needed for what part of this?
She just needs to send me a letter.
Okay, Becky would need to create a letter to send to MBI.
Correct.
All right, okay.
Interestingly enough, Michael DiChiara in our town is one of the consultants that MBI has approved. So it could be like, well, how this all might play out is like, you know, Michael gets hired by MBI to run this for Shutesbury, which would be great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, probably no conflict of interest there, as long as he doesn't give himself anything. So yeah.
Right.
He won't qualify for anything.
No.
Yeah.
All right. I have reached the end of all the things I was going to talk about. Do you guys have anything else?
No,
Nothing from me.
Do you have anything else?
no,
Nothing from me. No.
Okay.
No. I'm just trying to keep up with everything that was covered, which you all did in rapid succession here. So
don't write more than you have to, Jim.
well, you know, I'm just, but they're very basic points that we covered in quite a rapid sequence. That's all. I'm just sort of chewing on it.
Yep. They can watch the movie if they want now.
Yeah, right.
They can watch the whole thing, and they can watch it double speed to save time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, really? But you can. Oh, wow. I hope it doesn't make us sound like chipmunks. Does it adjust our voices?
It does. It just sounds like we were talking super fast, like we've had way too
Ah.
much caffeine.
Okay. Sweet. Well, thank you for going to the digital equity thing because, yeah, there's a lot of money out there, I'm sure.
Yeah, a ton of money.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Nobody was interested in this. Right, when we started in back in 2014, 15, like just no, like, I mean, people at the state were kind of interested, but nobody cared. Now, everybody cares about this because of these billions of dollars that and everyone's, you know, stands to have. There is even some representatives of electrical contractor units, like you know unit 28 or whatever, out of Boston, who came because they saw the opportunity for retraining their electrical contracts to do this kind of installation work, understanding that this is coming down the pipe towards them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was people at there was some representatives from some community colleges there who are trying to get people into this field so that there won't be a labor shortage in Massachusetts as all this is happening. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting. And I know that I've had difficulties with MBI in the past, and also they seem to be doing a really good job this time around. And I bet that a lot of that is due to what they learned over the last 5 years of working with communities with broadband deployment. In fact, they kept saying in the meeting, this isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. We want every community to figure out what they need and then, you know, get the portion of money, which is, you know, one of the big mistakes they made during the fiber deployment, you know, back in 2015, 16. Was they, you know, they did not understand the different configurations and what was needed.
Yeah, it was a new game, new ball of wax. Yeah.
Yep. All right. I think that's it.
Have all the towns, I'm sort of dragging this out of my memory. We were going to get some financial support from, what was it? If all the towns, this was Westfield Gas and Electric, if all of the towns had finished or completed their network and were online.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, so we're in line to get about $100,000 over the span of 10 years for those federal funds. And everybody is built out at this point. So we are just waiting for Westfield to finish getting the paperwork in. And I expect we will get that money, the first chunk of that 10,000 in this upcoming fiscal year. So 2024.
Okay. Just wondering about that.
Yep. And they better get it in, because I have a bill in hand for, you know, we have to pay $2,000 a year for them to maintain the website and all of that.
Yeah.
We've
already sunk quite a bit of money into it, you know.
Yeah.
And that program is called?
That was the CAF2 funding, Connect America Fund 2, CAF2.
CAF2.
Yep. And interestingly, it's all connected to the Lifeline services, which is a paltry $10 a month reduction in people's bills, which is not directly connected to ACP funding, although if you qualify for one, you can automatically qualify for the other. So all that CAF 2 funding was all thought up even before ACP existed.
Okay. Thank you. I just, I remembered that. I just was trying to
Sure.
recall all
Yeah.
those specific details.
Gail, do you remember off the top of your head roughly how many Lifeline people? Is that the same number of?
It's roughly the very small amount.
Same crowd.
Yeah.
And this 10K arrangement will go on for 10 years. Is that it?
Correct.
10,000 for the next 10 years.
Yeah, which is why we decided to go through with it, even though the upfront costs were kind of significant, that in the long run, it would
be very beneficial.
It would be worth it.
Yeah, I remember all that.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoy your screen porch and your mountain laurels. And
hope you're in a nice part of Boston.
I am. I'm in Arlington. And I'm leaving for San Francisco tomorrow though. And I'll be there for a week. So I am living the summer transient lifestyle. I'm having a great time.
Oh, good for you.
For the most part, I will be in I'm not going to be completely out of touch at all this summer, except for 1 week when I'm going to be in the White Mountains, and I really will go dark. So I will let you all know ahead of time, and let Sheldon know, of course, that I will be completely unreachable. And that's like the last week of July. I'll send you all the exact dates. Graham, would you mind being kind of the second in command during that week in case anything,
happy to,
if there's any Sheldon's great at doing the day-to-day stuff, but sometimes they have questions or calls need to be made about certain things.
No problem. Okay, so have a lovely rest of the solstice.
Thank you. Yes, we should all go out and enjoy this wonderful, beautiful, longest day of the year.
It is, yeah, indeed. Very good. Okay, so catch you next month.
Sounds great. All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.